Welcome to the fifth module. I hope everything went well with creating your first pin. And now, of course, it's time to create our first campaign. And there are basically two ways to do this. Now, I think most of you just started out with Pinterest, so you have a new account. And for a new account, I suggest you start with a consideration campaign, which used to be a traffic campaign, and it's very similar. And the second option is to start with a conversion campaign, but I only suggest this when you already warmed up your account, which is also the reason why we start with consideration campaign, is to warm up our account. Because as I said in previous videos, Pinterest takes a little bit more time to start seeing good results. Now, this doesn't mean that you can see great results immediately. I know a lot of guys who actually were very profitable right from the start, but this also helps if you are a little bit more experienced and you already got a store running on Facebook, for example. But anyways, we want to start with a consideration campaign. Another reason for this is that some people can't create conversion campaigns immediately. I'd say around 90% of the people, maybe even more, can create conversion campaigns immediately 48 hours after they verified their tag. I'm going to show you this in a minute because it also worked fine for us, but I know also some people still have the bug that they can't create conversion campaigns, and in that case it might be a good idea to start with a consideration campaign as well. And if you have a new campaign, you want to do this anyways. So there are different strategies to do this. The first one is to create a consideration campaign on $100 a day. And now I'm going to show you how you can create this in a minute, but I'm just going to share the different strategies because some people have a brand, some people are dropshipping. So yeah, the first thing with a brand is you want to start with $100 a day. This is also suggested by Pinterest themselves. And if you are new, if you just started out with a brand, then this might be a little bit too much for you. In that case, I'll just lower the budget a little bit. Then for dropshippers, if you already have a store and you already have a product that's performing well, or maybe multiple products that are performing well, then I would also start on $100 a day. Now, if you have different products, if you have a lot of different products, then maybe you can also lower the budget a bit and spread this on different consideration campaigns. And if you're just starting out as a dropshipper, I suggest you just go with a lower budget, somewhere between $20 to $50 on to test different products. All right, now I'm going to show you how to create these campaigns. What we want to do is create ad. We already created pins. Now I just created one pin, but as I said, I suggest you start with 2 pins. So hopefully you created 2 pins. Now, as you can see, we can already create conversion campaigns. If this doesn't work for you, then you will get a pop-up which makes it impossible to start a conversion campaign. In that case, you want to start with a consideration campaign anyways. As you can see, it says here, formerly traffic, and this campaign, the budget is on the campaign level. So this is sort of a CBO. And of course here you want to name it. What I always like to do is just name it after the product, put the profit margin in there as well. So in our case that would look something like this. And the campaign budget type 100. Now in our case we have a one product store. This could be a brand as well, a branded dropshipping store. Anyways, we would start with 100 euros is our account. Euros and dollars isn't that much of a difference, so you can start with $100. Then if I would be dropshipping and I wouldn't have any winning products already, then I would, as I said, put this to 20, or maybe if you want to start out a little bit higher, to 50. And then I would create different consideration campaigns for different products. And what we want to do with these campaigns, we can use them as sort of a testing campaign and the data we get from the consideration campaign we're going to take to the conversion campaigns, because with traffic campaigns, with consideration campaigns, we can test different things for a really cheap price, and we can test our products, see what the click-through rate is, see some cases you even get sales as well. And I'm just going to show you how to set up the campaign, and then I'm going to tell you a little bit more on how to analyze these campaigns as well. So what we want to do is create a campaign with different ad groups, as they're named here, similar to ad sets on Facebook, with different interests. And what we're going to do is just select choose your own. The difference between these is how the targeting selection is going to look. So as you can see, when we pick choose your own, we can pick all different kind of things here. If you'd select find new customers, then this looks a little bit different, and that's the only difference there is. So what I always like to do is just select choose your own, which is just easier for everyone. And then what we're going to do is pick interests. We always start testing with interests. Keywords only use after I found a winning campaign or a winning product. Then I'm going to test different ad groups, and sometimes use interest in both keywords or a ad group with just keywords, but that I'll show you later in the course. For now, all you need to know is that you can pick interests here, and as you can see, you can you have these interests to pick from. It's not as many as with Facebook. And what I like to do first is to pick our location where we're going to sell in. In our case, that will be the US, and that way we can immediately see the potential audience size, which we're going to need. You can also select the language here, English. So, and of course, if you have a product that's only for men or only for women, you can select the gender here as well. But this you want to do first before we go to select the interest, because now we can see the audience size for the interest. So we're just gonna select a interest. So let's say we want to target lifestyle. What I always like to do when I depending on which country I'm selling in, for some countries I do at least 500k here. For some bigger countries, at least 1 million. So this interest is fine. We're just going to copy this and name our ad group as the interest that we picked. Then what we want to do is we want to keep the bidding strategy on automatic for our consideration campaigns. Later in the course, I'm going to show you the custom bidding as well, but that will only be for the conversion campaigns, which we are going to scale. Then we can see our pins here. You can see the pins that you save to your boards, which are not your own pins here as well. But of course, we're not going to advertise for those. Here you will select your pins. And then there's one more thing that I want to show you. And review selected pins. And what you want to do here is remove the emoji, because if there will be an emoji in the ad name, then you will get an error. And if you don't know where the error is located, then you can be stuck here for a couple minutes searching what is wrong. So that's why I'm already telling you, remove the emoji here at the review selected pins. And that's basically it. Now we can publish it, and we created our first campaign. All right, what we're going to do now is we want to select at least 4 to 6 more interests, depending on the product, depending on if there are enough interests that are logical, are relevant to your product or brand. In this case, I'm just going to pick 4 more. So what you want to do is click duplicate, click 4 copies, same campaign, hit duplicate, and then simply change the interest here. So we're going to pick different interests. Here you can look to see what is in the interest as well. So if medical of course can be multiple different things. So here we can see what it means and if it's relevant to our brand. In this case, I would go for this one, which is a little bit too short. In that case, maybe daily routine, also too small. Then what I would do is just pick the entire health interest. Of course, sport, but in this case I'm just going to pick sport as a whole interest. And of course we can also pick sub-interests within sports. In this case I'm going to pick fitness and exercises, which often is a big audience as well. And then finally let's do travel as well. Then hit review copies and create ad groups. Okay, now we created our entire consideration campaign. This campaign we're going to let it run for a couple days and then decide based on the results if we are going to let it run for longer or maybe turn it off and use the data that we gathered in our conversion campaigns. And as I said, you can put 5 ad groups here. Most of the time I don't go higher than 8 ad groups, but in some cases if I have a product that has a really broad audience, then I'll just test a lot of different ad groups here, and based on the results after a couple days I might add in more ad groups just to test them. So let's say our consideration campaign is actually profitable after a couple days, or maybe break even. That's no problem. Then we can just let it run next to our conversion campaign that we're going to make after a couple days based on the results. And if it's actually profitable or break even, then I will add in different ad groups as well. Keep the budget the same, but just to test different interests, test different audiences, because the consideration campaign is a great way to test different audiences for a really cheap price. Now, it doesn't always mean if a audience is performing well in a consideration campaign that it also performs well in the conversion campaigns. That doesn't necessarily have to be true, but often the performance is quite the same, and also you can see the click-through rate, of course. So I'm going to show how to analyze the data in a later video in this module as well, but I also already want to explain why we create the consideration campaign and what we're going to do with it, because now that we created it, of course we're not going to let it run forever. So after a couple days, just look at the results, and then decide if you're going to let it run for some longer time or just completely shut it off. And as long as it's profitable, you can let it run next to your conversion campaign.